What's up, everybody, and welcome to SNL Movie Chats. And we are your hosts, Joshua Lewis
and John Emery Singleton.
And today we'll be chatting about Nobody. Great film. Just came out this Friday. Me and John were able to check it out.
It's pretty fantastic. Starring Bob Odenkirk as Hunch Mansell, better known as Saul Goodman from Breaking Bad. And man, I kind of went into this film as almost leaving expectations at the door. I was like, oh, okay, we're getting some sort of John Wick kind of thing going on. Especially with it being one of the directors from that. And boy, was it made it very clear that this wasn't John Wick. But it knew what it was doing. It knew what it was doing.
Yeah, movie starts off pretty mild in a chill way. So you wouldn't even think that once it kind of picks up that this guy is on like some John Wick type level. But let's start from the beginning. The first thing I noticed was the going through the days, Monday through Sunday. I feel like that's the first thing I connected with, just because, I mean, we all have a routine, whatever it is to you more specifically, but we all have one. So I feel like that was getting beat over the head just to really signify how he does the same thing.
But in a good, like in a very good way. It wasn't like we need 15 minutes of seeing him do the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like quick, precise.
Regular life, you just do the same thing as a routine. You know,
yeah, it was nice. And then it was neat how they caught that flow. It was like Monday, Tuesday, and then it started to speed it up until it hit the day where, if you've seen the trailer, you know, the break-in happens, and then the movie kind of like goes from there and starts to flow.
And something else I noticed too, I think it's kind of funny that it started on a Monday. It's because, like, you know, we all hate Mondays, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny.
I think it's neat that they did it in a way of, a suburban life, and that typical kind of trope where it's like, oh, I hate the suburban life, yada yada. But then as you watch the movie, you find out that he doesn't necessarily hate it, but he was aware that it was what did he say in the movie? It was a facade or something. He just didn't expect it to last so long, which I thought was really cool. I think that the way they approached the story was neat. Like we talked about earlier, it does this neat way of not really giving you more than you really need to know. You don't need this humongous backstory of what happened to him before this. They kind of just give you the information when you need it, and then they don't really give you all this extra stuff. It's not like they're setting up some grand world or anything.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job of, like, for example, the breaking in scene. I think they did a good job of just kind of showing that he's a little bit, you know, more in tune with things, very subtly, very slowly. So even if you didn't pick up on it, like, I don't blame you. And then going into when the two people were into his house and he went to go for the swing but didn't. I feel like that spoke volumes compared to him actually hitting the person. Yeah,
that, and I feel kind of gave that a little more weight was later when he was talking to the radio personnel, when he was describing everything that was happening. Then you really realize just how much he was taking in of what was happening.
Oh yeah, that's why I love too when that scene was going down and they kind of have to quick zoom in on him looking at the person's wrist because they had a tattoo, and that just also showed you that he's in the moment and is taking in details of things that most people kind of wouldn't really remember, especially with something like that, you know, intense happening. Like a home invasion is definitely a scary thing to deal with, so people don't really pick up on things like that. So that just goes in to talk about like the training he's had prior that we had no knowledge about, which I like that. I definitely picked up on it.
I love it had this slight like underlying comedy aspect to the movie, to where he was already, you know, you see that everyday build-up life of him just almost looks like getting tired of it, and then the break-in happens, and then hearing about what everybody else would do almost makes him, like, feels him a little more. And I love that the thing that set him off was his daughter not being able to find the kitty cat bracelet.
Cute kid, such a cute kid. But yeah, I mean, I'd be pissed too. People ran into my house and stole my daughter's, come on, my daughter's bracelet. How heartless could you be?
Yeah, I think it was neat how it was kind of just like, oh, that's it. And then he just walks out, and then he goes on his mission And another like just flowing from that scene into another like really nice comedic relief moment was when he finally got to the right tattoo shop.
Oh man, that was hilarious.
And the old man sees the tattoo. That was so funny.
That was like a perfect, kind of like, that was very reminiscent to me of like John Wick, of like one person being in that room and knowing who he is, or knowing that he can definitely deal damage compared to everyone else that's just like, no, it's just some suburban dad that would, you know, let's just show him a little tough, you know, just kind of being assholes, more or less. And another guy was like, oh yeah, no, I'm out of here. And then it cuts to the funny part with him like locking the door like 10 times.
Yeah, it was a nice little, oh, we don't need to see him kick ass yet, but we're gonna let the audience know that he can do that. That's why I think it was so neat. Like, he pulls up to the family and, you know, and they show that he's still got a conscience and stuff like that. Like, he sees the baby and, you know, the baby's sick, and that's why they're doing this type of lifestyle. It was tough, so it was nice that they gave that, and it was just like, you just felt it, because then he leaves, he's like, oh, I want to take my anger out, but it's not right to take it out on his family. And then he punches the wall, which looks like it really hurt.
Man, anytime I watch anything where like the person in the show or movie just punches a wall, is so like intense, because I just kind of relate to that too. Like, we've all been there, we've been so mad, you just need to throw a punch at something. So just like, damn, he was laying it into that brick wall. For a second I thought he was gonna break into it. I was kind of like, yo.
I think something I like about the movie that they kind of do throughout is when it comes to the action, they do this thing of, he's not like John Wick invincible, especially on the bus scene. They show that like he takes his licks while dishing it out, but he's dishing it out tenfold, and I think that's really cool what they did with him. They almost, with him, they really show that, yeah, I'm old type vibe. Like, yeah, it's been a while, and you know, I'm a lot older than I was.
That's definitely how I felt too. I felt like he was kind of getting his bearings on the bus, and it almost kind of seemed like to me there was moments where he'd let them hit him.
Yeah, in the beginning, I felt like he was almost getting that
just like, yeah, exactly, like just trying to get his footing back into that type of lifestyle. But man, when he got that whole bus scene from the beginning of it to the part where he gets thrown out the window, and then he just comes back in and just
kill mode.
Yeah, he's just like, okay, now I know what I have to do, almost. But that's also interesting that he takes it. He doesn't kill any of them.
No, and that's the thing too, that it made me think that he did. I really thought they were all dead except for the one dude he saved, and it turns out that, well, all of them are still alive, but he was really doing some damage.
Yeah, that was crazy. That another funny part with that too is when the bus driver, I love it.
Just the no audio, just
kind of shoving her out the bus, like, look, just don't call 911. And another detail about that scene, because I pointed it out watching it, I love that he doesn't let her walk out with her phone.
Yeah,
even though
smart.
He told her not to call 911. So that was very like, I think now we're getting into the stage of like watching movies so where something like that, it's like, yeah, that's smart. Don't tell them something and then expect them to take their phone and not do it. So I like that he told her not to do it, but also didn't give her the option.
I think it was cool they did the, you know, it was very like well cut, like we talked about a little bit. It was an hour and a half was just what this movie needed.
Yeah, perfect time.
We talked about how we love when movies, you know, take that and they transcend the genre that they're in, but we also love when a movie is absolutely aware of what it is and hits that full force. That's exactly what this movie did.
Yeah, and even with that, going back to just some scenes in the beginning, like this family, more say, he definitely was, with the whole routine, you definitely saw that he was in a part of his life where it felt so routine that it's almost as if, like, and you know he brings it up later in the movie, but like things with his wife, like they did not seem like not that they didn't want to be together, but I felt like they were giving off the vibe that the connection was definitely off.
Yeah, it was gone.
Like, you know, yeah. And then even going to his son, like, I'm not sure what really the son's issue was, but the vibe he just gave off was like there was just tension with his dad. I don't necessarily know why, but
I mean, beyond that initial like first scene, I could agree with you. Like, what? I mean, then again, they don't really tell you anything, but
yeah,
you don't really know why his son is like that, except him not, like, his son being aware that he didn't take the swing in the first.
Yeah, and it almost, and I guess I'll say going further in the movie, they kind of almost bring some light on that, because I know later on he has a nice moment with his son where he tries to talk to him compared to all the days he just walks in the house and doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
And I guess going back to why the son was feeling why he felt, maybe he also had that disconnect with his son as well. But talking about their family, their daughter was definitely cute. I don't know the name of the actress, but she was so adorable.
I think she was that key to like, I'm still very much a family man, and I very much still want this life, but you know, this old life, this old ways are kind of calling.
Yeah, and I even love the moment where after the home invasion that the daughter couldn't sleep, so she comes to the couch to come lay with him.
It was very sweet.
And then asks if she's scared, and she's just like, nah, I got you. You know, like, well, I don't need to be. You're my dad. Like, and that was another real touching moment. Like, I'm not a parent or anything, but I definitely felt that.
Yeah, I felt like that was one of those like build-up moments where I was like building up on him, and then I kind of led into like the whole kitty bracelet thing.
Yeah.
I think that the villain was very neat. It's just, you know, just simple, nothing like super crazy underground worlds. No, it's just a big head Russian mobster.
Yeah, again, for the movie and the time that this movie was cut to, I think it just worked. Like, we didn't need any more plot devices to really know the background of the guy that we're going against in this movie, because that's not what's really important. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his dad was another cool character. One, obviously, the Doc from Back to the Future.
Oh,
I thought that was cool.
That was awesome. I didn't even notice that until someone pointed it out to me. I was like, whoa.
And then knowing, like, it was one of those things, I wasn't really sure if his dad knew about his previous life, but it was in that moment where he went back to, like, suit up, quote unquote, and he was like, I have something I have to take care of. And his dad just said the coolest thing. He's like, well, you better get to it then.
Yeah, I love that his dad wasn't the run-of-the-mill senile old man. He was a man still conscious, like still with his mind full of life, but just, you know, again, almost trying to do the same thing his son was doing, just kind of living life out because the fight's over, at least for the moment.
Like you said at the end, like, yeah, this is what I wanted to do, but damn, does this feel good? Like, shit. So I think, and then that last fight was really, it was good because it's one of those, they do it in a way where it's just, oh, we're not gonna do this thing where we're winning and then we're losing and then we win. It felt like, no, he set up a plan and the plan is going according to plan.
Oh yeah, and that's another detail too that I like that he kept bringing up, trying to buy the place he was working at from, I believe, his father-in-law.
Yeah, the man said, take care of my sister when he gave him the gun. So, by the way, that being in the freezer was super clutch.
As soon as he put it in the freezer, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely going to be used later on in the movie. There's no way it's not. But I like that there's things this movie does well, like the buying the place he's working at, the work site. They do things well like that, and even with the gun in the freezer, where they pushed it, or they did it so early that later on it's like, even if you don't know it's going to be a thing, like you know, once it comes up, you're like, oh yeah, like, you know, this is why that.
They set it to be paid off kind of thing. Yeah. I think it's done well, and I want to say that it was nice to see, because like I told you as well, reading RZA's name in the credits in the beginning, I was like, okay, awesome. Cool, he's going to be in this movie, let's see what role he plays. And then I was only a couple minutes into the movie before I had totally forgotten he was in the movie, and then, you know, you have this ominous unknown radio presence, and of course he just shows up kicking ass at the end.
Yeah, that's what I kind of like too, just with telling us about this guy without telling us anything, is that he has that set up in his office at work, and then, you know, he's listening to music, so at first, you know, it's just like, okay, it seems normal, but then he starts talking and you're like, oh well, like,
I thought he was just listening to music, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is the person?
Cool. Yeah, I feel like, again, like that's just a great example of just adding details to a character we know nothing about, because that just has your mind thinking like, oh, who's the guy he's talking to? How does he know that guy? How is he even able to do the thing he's doing with talking through the radio, like on a specific like station?
I think it's neat. They do that, like kind of adding to that. We're giving you just enough to where you kind of get the idea of who this is and the seriousness of his secrecy / like level of intelligence and all that stuff. They do that pretty well. Kind of pivoting to him conversating in general is, I thought another good comedic moment in the movie was both times he's like giving that explain-o dump of who he is, the person he's talking to dies.
I totally agree with that. It's like, it's like that was the movie's time to tell us who he was, but because of how things like happened right before, the person he's telling those things to aren't like gonna be alive for long. So it's almost as if like the movie's making fun of having a long origin story and not having time to dump it out in the movie, and that's what I kind of liked about that, because it happened twice.
I think it's just a good way of doing it. Is like, this is literally all you need to know, and he's not going to keep saying more because the only person he's talking to is dead.
Yeah, and even with going to that with the people he killed, the bus scene, he ends up really hurting, like sending this person to the hospital. The antagonist of the movie, I guess it's his brother, and the part where he sends the people to his house, that scene was just so. Because it was just right after the bus stuff, and he was just, he got that anger out, so he was kind of like, he was a little chippier, he was making
his life was like revitalized.
Took a bite of those couple of bacons and just like was in heaven. Like, I love that scene, that was so funny. But just the moment of like the intensity when they were having dinner, and then he just noticed the 3 cars pull up.
It was like,
and that house scene was just like, just get everyone to the basement. Don't have no time to talk about questions or anything like that. Just get to the basement. And then the house scene.
Oh, bro, God, he was doing
crazy
hits.
Crazy.
And that's why I love it. I love me a good hard R action movie, because you're not pulling any punches. And that was one of those scenes where, if you didn't already get that vibe when he was stabbing Russians on the bus,
man,
when he's beating this dude's ass with a hot teapot, I was like, this is it. Like, this man is sending them to the morgue.
And then even the fact that he took the time to clean himself up, but just not everything else in the house, was just like, damn, man, he really wrecked stuff. And I know his son had that like old fuck face when he got out from the basement.
Yeah, that was that. I'm sorry, I started talking to you that way after you didn't hate that one person. That's my bad. That's kind of the vibe I got from him. So we've talked a lot about all the good in the movie. Did you see any bad? Did you see anything that maybe you didn't like? Maybe you thought they could do more of?
Well, going into the movie, I was having a conversation with a couple people. I didn't have high expectations.
Agreed.
That being said, because I kind of had a feeling I knew what I was going to get, but with what I got and how just the story behind the action was, it wasn't too much and it wasn't over convoluted, which is what I did appreciate about it. So after the movie, I mean, honestly, besides the son kind of just being a dick for no reason in the beginning, I don't really have much of a negative, and the movie also wasn't that long, so it also did well with keeping me from having any negatives, because it wasn't drawn out. Everything felt really back to back to back.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. It does this perfect thing of staying in that hour-and-a-half frame and keeping itself together, only giving you the information you need, and honestly giving you what you came to the movies to see. You came to the movie to see a little bit of explanation to a character, and then just a bunch of kick-ass action, and that's what it gave me. My adrenaline was pumping in the theater when he was stabbing folks and beating them up with kitchen utensils.
So definitely very John Wick-esque, but in a different way. I mean,
in a suburban fashion.
Yeah, definitely. Like, John Wick didn't have a family or anything, but
yeah, he was.
God, if he had a family, those movies would have went way different. But yeah, as far as negatives go, I don't really have a lot. Like I said, I was thoroughly impressed with everything.
Yes, I would have to say that I agree with you. I think I couldn't really give any negatives because it knew what it was and it's stuck in that parameter and did it very well. So the last question I have for you is, are you taking it or are you leaving it?
Oh yeah, guys, I'm definitely taking this movie, and I think you should too. Definitely a good night out to just pick a movie. And the best part too, I didn't watch too many trailers about it, so I didn't know too much going in. And for me, I feel like that enhanced the viewing experience.
I agree.
So
I think I'm going to, like you, I'm going to take it. I suggest going to the theater, checking it out. Like you said, it's perfectly cut. It's not like you have to plan a whole night around it. Go do that. And go hang out with the family afterwards and talk about the kick-ass movie you just watched. It's a definite take. We're taking this for sure.
All right, so with that, we're in the chat there. Thank you for everyone watching. And if you like being part of the chat, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and make sure you have the notification bell ringing for next week's SNL Movie Chat. So until then, You can find me at Josh5K on Twitter and Instagram.
And you can find me at JohnEmery97 on Twitter and Instagram.
Make sure you support your local movie theaters and streaming service of choice. And until next time,
Thanks for chatting.